Добрый день, мои любимые коллеги. Прошло почти 2 года с того момента, когда мы делали наше последнее интервью. И у меня в гостях очень интересная моя подруга, которая приехала из Соединенных Штатов Америки. Зовут ее Джойниколь Мартинес, и мы начинаем.
Доктор Джойниколь Мартинес, член Совета коучей Forbes, основатель и генеральный директор агентства «Алхимик», эксперт по здравоохранению, консультант по лидерству и управлению, журналист, профессор университета, бизнес-коуч, яркий спикер Women Influence Community и STEM-форумов, которые проводятся при поддержке Салым Петролеум, опытный эксперт, многогранный человек, многодетная мама и женщина, восхищающая своей неиссякаемой энергией, позитивом и обаянием. Сегодня она консультирует и практикует в качестве эпидемиолога, занимается наращиванием потенциала людей и компаний. Главную миссию видит в развитии и укреплении международных связей, основанных на культурной дипломатии.
So to start up, can you please tell our guys, my colleagues, where you're from, about your personal life, about your interests, etc., and we will go from there. Thank you.
So where I'm from is a very interesting question because I always say New York is home for me. I was born and raised in New York, but I live in Charlotte, North Carolina now. I went from a place that was extraordinarily diverse and full of culture to an area of the States that is traditionally known for its lack of diversity and acceptance of it. But it's been a good experience, and it's actually changed my personal life.
And your attitude, has it changed your attitude towards
it? Has. I think whenever you encounter change, and change on a grand scale, it's a grand change to move, not just geographically, but to move in a way where the thought dynamic is different. I think if it doesn't change your attitude, then something's wrong. I think it taught me that I'm probably more resilient than I thought. And it also taught me that the way we see our own nation, we also see from our own lens. And so as much as I thought I knew about the United States, I still had a lot to learn. And that changed my attitude as well.
Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world?
Diversity and opportunity.
Lewis?
Freedom and freedom. So let's keep it that way.
Will?
The New York Jets.
That's an interesting point. Good. But we will still get back to the personal life. So, how many children do you have?
5 children.
It's our first.
Yeah, I got that.
How about you?
4 at home, 2 on the way.
Oh, big family. You're so blessed.
And the oldest is how?
He just turned 12.
And the youngest?
My twins are 5.
5. So you've been quite busy with having these 5 babies in a row kind of thing.
Yes.
And you just told me that your plan was?
Never to have children.
Was it your kind of attitude towards being a mother with your husband? Was it the attitude that you created with your husband? That
When we were dating, I was very career focused, and I was told very young that I would never have children.
You were told?
I was told.
By?
A physician that I would never have children.
Oh, I see.
And so when I was dating, I was very clear, okay, no children. And he said, oh. And I remember in the date, he leaned in and he said, we'll see. And obviously he won that argument because here I am, almost 50 with 5 children.
So, and you also revealed your age to us.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Do you have any issues with that?
Tell him my age.
No, being that age.
Oh, no. I'm a much happier person now than I ever was as an adolescent or young woman.
So what makes you happier?
Me. And this is gonna sound selfish, but the truth is I think I lived so much of my life fulfilling other people's expectations, right? What they want for you, what they expect of you, what they believe you should become. And at this point, I think I'm going to do what brings me peace and joy, and all else I just have no time for.
And you call it freedom?
I think I'm more patient and warm and giving than I've ever been.
It's an interesting transformation we're all going through.
Yeah. I think maturity does that, right? I think we mature into who we were supposed to be, but we have all these experiences that we must go through first to develop it in us. And I just think I'm fortunate to have had really life-changing experiences that brought me to this point.
And what about your husband? Is he your partner?
I think our marriage is happy because we don't have any expectation of roles. So people laugh because you would see my husband, wearing the children or making breakfast.
Is that all dry cleaning?
These two are laundry, and this button is missing.
Okay.
I mean, it's loose, so they could just...
You got it.
Thanks.
Hey, and honey, before you leave, just got to go over a couple things.
Okay.
I don't think I've made breakfast in 5 years. I tend to be a late worker and work in the middle of the night, so he gets up and he gets the children prepared for the day. We just stopped having expectations of what our home should look like, and that just made us happier. Again, it sounds selfish, right? To say I'm making myself happy, but we're one now. We got married and we're one. And as one, we've decided no one else can decide for us what our home and our family should look like or how it should move and function.
So how many years are you together?
We were together 18 years, married 15, almost 16.
So what you're gonna do after your children grow up?
Rest, sleep, travel, play.
So active third part of your life.
Absolutely. Children make it wonderful, and they are.
But your life is so full. Let's put it correctly.
When you have 5, my day today is filled with my children, and filled with what I hope is me supporting them, right? Me supporting their dreams and their goals, especially my older two. My 9-year-old daughter is coming into herself, what she likes, what she doesn't like. She's testing boundaries and borders, and so I hope I'm supporting that process for her in a way that maybe in my generation we didn't have.
Yeah. Judging by the age of your children, it's obviously the digital age children.
Oh yeah.
Do you experience any kind of misunderstanding or boundaries surrounding you and him, or dividing you and them, you or your husband?
So my situation's a little unique because my children have always been homeschooled. So they're with us.
That's interesting information.
Yeah.
Is it allowed by the state?
Oh, yes.
To be home educated?
I think what it gave us was this: I can take away that screen immediately. I'm more able to manipulate, and I say that not in a negative way, but manipulate their exposure, right? What they see, what they don't, or how frequently they see it. So I think it's interesting, some of the friction other parents may have because they are not with their children for so much time out of the day. That isn't our situation. So I think it's led to less friction, but I would also say it means my children are very engaged day to day with our lives. And so they have, where some children may be very engrossed in their social community, we are my children's social community. So they're very much into our work and our professions, and they have, it's like all children, they are curious and have lots of questions. And I think that was our goal, was to make it so they saw what we did and who we are, and hopefully they mapped their journey accordingly. The real difference is that they're not sitting in a classroom learning. Everywhere is their classroom. Whether it's in Paris and they're studying history and art, or it's New York because they want to go to the ballet, or it's just mathematics at the planetarium. I think we're hoping that there's a diversity of thought that sparks in them because we are homeschooled.
Thought processes, we must learn to read, to stimulate our own imaginations, to cultivate our own consciousness, our own belief systems. We all need these skills to defend, to preserve.
Getting back to you, have you had any crisis in your life?
When I read this question, I thought, now should I say, you could say some things are crises, but I think they've been experiences that maybe are just, they grew me.
The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
So this is my second marriage. I lost my first husband to the Marine Corps. I met him when I was 11. And true story, he walked in a room and I thought, oh, I'm going to marry him.
Really?
I instantly.
Being the 12-year-old girl.
I never had a date, never, but just something in his presence, I just knew I would. And we were friends because of course my parents would not allow me to date. And when I turned 18, we got married. We're married for 11 years. And then of course one day I had the knock at the door. And I thought, okay, but I had brilliant time with him. And so I thought, okay, well that's fine. I had a great marriage, so now I'll focus back on my career. So I would say that was a crisis. I've had losses. You know, just recently, my family has been devastated by COVID. I mean, just in a span of a year, I lost my father, my mother-in-law, aunts, uncles, cousins, right? So, and it's harder for me, I think, because I am an epidemiologist. And my mind says I should be able to fix this. And I couldn't. That causes a crisis.
How are you coping with that?
Yeah, I think like the rest of the world, right? I think we're all shook and shocked and trying to decide how we move forward. And is it time to move forward? And
we are not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven. That which we are. One equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield.
There's a part of me that still feels the resistance, like, okay, don't get too comfortable, don't get too confident, right? Stay on guard. But there's the other part that says, I'm gonna get on this plane and go to Russia because that's who I am and it's what I do. And I think that's how I've coped with all of it, is understanding none of that changes the core of who I am. And at my core, I'm a risk taker. I'm a person who believes.
Have you always been a risk taker?
Much to my mother's chagrin, because she, oh, my daughter, I have always been a risk taker.
So let's talk about stereotypes.
Sure.
You're part of this very diverse culture. Diverse, I'm sure, your near friends, your relatives, the community you live with. Then you're part of this women's influence forum. Very, very diverse and with a lot of differences. But do you still have stereotypes inside of you? And if you do you fight them?
So I think the biggest stereotype I fight on a daily basis is my skin, even more than my gender. And I say that because it's the first thing people see. And it's funny, I didn't realize it as much when I was younger. I mean, of course, I woke up and knew I was Black. I think there's no discovery of Blackness for me. It was just, I always knew. And I can't explain why some people have like a awakening that they're different. I think perhaps my parents just always instilled in us the value of our uniqueness.
You is calm, you is smart, you is important.
So I come from a mixed culture, so I'm Native American and Black American, right? And either way, because everything in most countries falls into black and white, I'm just Black. People ask, I'm black. It's the first thing you see. And so when people say stereotype, that's the first thing that pops up. We spent a summer, we call it the summer of discontent last summer, right? People rioting, people screaming and yelling and breaking windows and torching entire cities because they're saying, I want to be heard, I want to be seen, I want to be seen as equal. And imagine looking like the person you see on TV and wondering, why are they so angry? I look like them and I don't feel that angry. And it caused me to question, maybe I am not mad enough, right? Maybe I'm too privileged. What's wrong with me? Why don't I feel
the same anger?
And I didn't, and I don't. And the truth is, I'm not angry that people are different. And I'm not even angry that people treat others differently because of their own bias. If you fight with hate, everybody loses. I'm not angry, not because I don't see it and feel it, not because it hasn't been a barrier. I'm not angry not because it hasn't been an obstacle. I'm not angry because I'd rather fight it positively. And I've learned that anger for me turns me to a person who can't be patient with my children, who can't express love to my husband. So I think the fight for me is what I do every day at work. It's what I do when I teach leaders. It's what I do when I teach my children their worth, and I let them discover it through all these other creative ways. I don't feel like I need to tear a city down.
But still, if you feel that a person treats you differently for the color of your skin, what's your reaction now?
Well, first I'll let them know that they've done something wrong. And I think that's when people are very angry about racism, it's because they have not been able to say, I hate what you're doing to me. I loathe it. It's despicable and disgusting. I think we've not had an ability to say that, right? We just had to smile and take it and hope to keep our job. And if you make too much noise, they'll let you go. And if you say too much, you won't be able to feed your family. So we just smiled. And I told you earlier, I'm a risk taker. And in that risk, I'm the first person to say, no, you won't do that. No,
but
don't say that.
You do it usually in a firm way, not in a scandalous way, not shouting.
I think I do it in a way that's honest, but respectful.
Respectful, that's what I was, yeah. That's interesting. Yesterday I've seen a movie, the latest James Bond movie. I'm not gonna spoil it for you guys.
I know, don't tell me.
No, I won't. But there is, because you can see it in the reviews, that there is a replacement for the retired James Bond, which is the black African-American female. It is she 007. So is it something that it is in fashion? Is it something that you can see in the mass media, you can see it in the movies, you can see it all over the place? So is it something that people are doing because they say, oh, if we don't do it now, so we will lose money, we won't be popular, etc., etc. So what's your attitude towards that?
So part of what I do is evaluate change. All the companies came out, we stand in solidarity. We pledge $400 million. And here we are, and I ask that question, okay, what did you do? What are you doing? Show me where the money went. Where'd you invest it? And what we're finding is that a lot of those companies just yelled and screamed about things they were already doing. They didn't start anything new, right? What we're finding is that solidarity was a marketing tool to say, don't leave me out. Hey, we don't want to be the one company that didn't make a statement, right? And so and if you read them, they're almost exactly the same statement from every single. And the ones that were authentic, they're few and far between, but there's real change there.
I want each of you to make a toast. We're each gonna make a toast for change. And what that means is, from this moment on, every voice that told you you can't is silenced.
And you see it. And you can applaud it, and you can look at it, you can see it in their numbers, you see it in their leadership, you see it. The media, they're under a lot of pressure, right? Entertainment, under a lot of pressure. You know, Americans believe in boycotts now. So we will boycott your movie. You will not win the Oscar. We won't nominate you for an award. And because these things sustain their income, yeah, there's of course fear that if we don't do this, but I think
will be failing.
They'll lose profits. And at the other side of it, there's, I think, a growing number of people and executives and professionals saying, don't do it and it be false, because we will call you for that too. And I think that's where we have to take risk. You have to have those people who are willing to say.
So it's about sincerity and the right balance, not about the marketing.
Right, you know, you said something, well, you didn't say it, but the narrator said something in the video that I watched about your company that really struck a chord. It resonated with me. It was to the effect that professional skills are what matters here. Right? That's the goal. Don't hire me or promote me because I'm black. Don't hire or promote me because I'm a woman. Hire or promote me because I'm the best, because I'm the expert, because I will produce what you ask of me. That's where promotion should come from. If it's just a tool that you're using for marketing, if it's just a campaign, well, don't make a token of me. Don't make a trophy of me.
Or quotas. There's another thing that it is now sitting in many corporations and companies. They take quotas for ladies to be in their leadership positions.
See, but diversity is a fact, right? Diversity is a fact. It's just tick, 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 tick numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inclusion is an action. And for 20 years, 30 years, we've been talking about diversity as a fact. And for 2 minutes, we've been talking about inclusion as an action. And most companies just aren't very good at it yet. But we'll get there.
The right balance.
The right balance.
Let's get back to Moscow and Russia. It is your third or second time you come to Moscow?
My third.
Your third time. So when was your first time you came to Russia?
2017.
So what was your impression then and now?
Well, I think my first trip, I didn't really get to have the story of Moscow told to me. I mean, it was a quick trip, and I think, you know, you see all the nice tourist attractions, and you take pictures of the brilliant architecture, and then you go home.
So it was the tourist trip, it was not for the Yanina's invitation?
Yeah, it was just a tourist trip. I've always been fascinated with Russia, but my parents wouldn't let me come. My school had a trip in high school, and my father was like, are you crazy? He literally said.
What was the preconception? So what did he say?
He told me, they won't let you over. You'll get to the border and they will say, little black girl, go home. That's what he said, no way, are you crazy? You can't go there. And I cried, please let me go. And he said, oh no, not there. You can go anywhere but there. And so I ended up going all the way to Egypt.
But if it was Korea or China, would he let you go? Anything, he said, anywhere?
Pretty much anywhere, just anywhere. Not Russia. Yeah. Again, but see, the story of Russia was told to him, but not by Russian people, right? So he only knew what someone else told him.
Welcome, everybody. I am not a gas station. This is sophisticated laboratory. I'm in charge, so do not be touching anything.
It wasn't a story he knew from inside. It was a story someone decided what should be his truth. And when I said, well, let me go find my own truth, he went, no, not today. So it took a lifetime for me to say, I'm going. And by myself, I just got on a plane and came to visit. Then it was beautiful. I thought it was majestic. I'm from US, it's like a teenager in the world stage, and our architecture and our culture, I think, reflects that. I was astonished, really. I was actually quite overwhelmed by the vastness of it all. And now I feel like it's, this is gonna sound a little strange, but the last 2 times I came, the purpose was different. And now I feel like it's smaller. Not because it changed at all, but because I think I learned more about its soul. And so it seems smaller to me. Still beautiful, still majestic, warmer even.
I call it cultural code. It's very strong here. Very strong, very strong. So women's influence community. So you met with the introduction of Yanina Dubikovskaya, a lot of leadership ladies that's been mature enough to enter this organization. So what was your impression of the business women in Russia?
We share risk-taking as a personality trait. And you know, it's funny, I always thought of Russia as a place where women would have very traditional roles. And they do in some sense.
No, no one makes their own way. Not really. Least of all a woman. You'll need to marry well.
But it's unique. I would say women in Russia are almost more advanced in their thinking and their approach to profession than women in the United States, especially minority women. Because what I found is they're in every field. They're in every area. They don't mind risking getting right into male-dominated fields. And we still have a lot of problems breaking that glass ceiling.
Борьба за гендерное равенство в США – локомотив для многих других стран. Успешная женщина здесь – пример для подражания и объект восхищения.
I'm very impressed by that. And again, I've been told that story from within, right? Russian women speaking about their own journey. And it's a very different story than the one I was told at home.
Absolutely, absolutely. And they do underestimate themselves. Unfortunately, yeah. So that's something we need to learn with American ladies, 100%. Now I'm gonna talk about music. So I've been always crazy about soul and funk and just funk. This is something I cannot live without. This, with me 24/7. What kind of music you enjoy? And so what's your relation with music? It sounds strange for you, I'm sure,
No.
but...
Believe it or not, my father was a chemist. He worked for Eastman Kodak Company for a long time, and then he went to medical school and became a doctor. And in the midst of that, we ran a record label for 22 years. So music is a huge part of my life, huge part of my life. If you look at my phone, you will see everything from The Temptations to John Coltrane to, I have a hard time finding, but when I'm by myself in the car and I roll the windows up and I think no one can hear me, the stuff I belt is gonna be anything from the 70s or 80s. So I'm still, my daughter says, who's singing that song? I never heard of them. And I'm like, that's because you don't know good music, right? So I love soul. It moves me. It is the music.
It physically moves. It lives with me physically, yes, absolutely, yes.
And it makes you feel like you have energy. And so I think if there was one artist, hands down, I would say, no matter what year they made music, I follow with two. It would be Prince and Stevie Wonder, because they both make music that I feel has a wide range of sound, right, and beat. But
speaking of the energy, those are two absolutely giant, sources of energy.
Get your money out. Get 'em while the kettle is hot, but you better watch out. They'll kiss you. Do they get what you got? You know what? They'll show you the friends that they're not. See, we've been in the sky. We've been in the sky for love.
I saw Prince in person more than once. The first time, I thought I would collapse. I literally, him standing on the stage is massive. Just the energy in the space,
and
massive energy.
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful.
And the ways that he created, it's amazing, amazing. So Джойниколь, can you please tell us, you are founder and CEO of Alchemist Agency, and why would you need so many educations in other spheres?
So my company is about change, right? Alchemy in of itself is about creating something of value from something that's not considered valuable. That's alchemy at its core. It's some magic, but it's based in science and chemistry. It's the basis for chemistry now. And I think when I was creating a vision for who I wanted to be, I wanted to embrace all the parts of my life. So I wanted to embrace the fact that I started, my first degree is in political science. I love administration, I love politics. I wanted to embrace it. I moved into business administration because you cannot be an effective policy changer if you don't understand how business and politics work together. And then because medicine, because of my parents is at my core, I wanted to make sure that I expressed that part of myself, which is why I ended up going to medical school and work in that field as well. The thing is, they're all one part. So if you want to build your population well, you have to address healthcare. You have to address education. You must address policy and politics. You cannot, it's like a table, right? If you're going to set a banquet, if one leg falls, all the food falls off. You can fix it, but then the other leg falls, all the food falls off. So I think for me, alchemy, right, was about being able to find a way to make all of those legs live together. So the diversity in education was just me following my passion, just really going after what I loved, and then recognizing that one thing fed the other. That if we don't address all of it as a whole, people are not just what they eat. They're not just what they read. They're not just where they live. They're all of those things. And if we want to address wholeness in our population, if we are truly talking about making change and bringing equity, then we have to address all of those industries, not in silos, but together. And we cannot do that if leaders don't understand the significance of public-private partnerships and collaborative and compulsory collaborative work. Because I think if you leave it to them to just decide whether or not they want to work together, they'll say it. They recognize it's even a good idea, but they don't necessarily do it. So that's what I do. I bring them together.
All those educations and all those diploma that you received, it helps you to mental it all together?
You know, I don't know that the education helps with the work. I think, unfortunately, our United States education system, at a high level, it teaches you theories, not action. It's something I think we should work on, but I think it opened the door. So again, first thing you see when you see me is I'm a Black woman, but you can't negate the education. So I think it's my way of saying I'm just as good, right? I'm just as qualified. So even if you don't like what I look like, or the sound of my voice, or the color of my hair, again, I'm the expert here. And that's been measured and not by me.
Again, getting back to the professionalism, being a professional, not a male or female. And is work-life balance, is this a myth?
So
an honest answer.
So when I say it's a myth, this is where we as women, I think, have been most burdened. Because we're expected to think of work and life as two opposite ends of a scale, right? As two opposing forces. Oh, I have work or I have life. I have work, which is obviously the negative part, or I have life. But what that says is they oppose one another. That I can't love work as much as I love the other parts of me. That I can't find joy and passion in my work. So why do I have to balance them?
You started this business all by yourself a year and a half ago, and now you have a staff of 220 people. Remember who did that?
Who? Thank you.
And I hate to say it, but try to get some sleep.
Mommy! Hi. Hi. Here's my favorite girl.
You only have to balance something if they're on a scale and they have to become one thing. And life is not static, right? Work is never static, and life is only static at death. So balancing them is impossible because you can never find equilibrium there. Instead, they should just be one part of whole. The mythical part is that I have to somehow make one more valuable or one more weighty or more priority than the other. So is it a myth? It's a myth because it puts at opposition something that shouldn't be opposing. We work because that's part of our lives. It's who I am. I mean, I watch you. You love what you do. It's part of who you are. Why should you have to choose which one is more significant on what day? That's the mythical part.
Not everyone is so fortunate as we are.
Absolutely.
So that's why it is so difficult, and it does exist still for many, many people. And in our company, we have a culture of achieving the best results. It is sitting in our strategy. And how do you understand this phrase?
So I was reading and I thought, oh, listen, you have like a cycle. And I thought, how do you change a culture by saying you can change how you compete? I found that very interesting. So you change being competitive to more being about competing with yourself, right? Challenging yourself, which I think is a brilliant, it struck something in me. I said, oh, I wonder where that came from. Because I think
it's a behavioral thing. It is quite a challenging for each one of us, because you need first to change yourself.
Yeah.
To start changing the system, others, your teams, your colleagues. It is interesting, but it is...
It's very interesting. And I thought, if more companies started pushing their individual team members to really scale themselves first, I wonder what that would do to the right. I wonder what that would do to the world. I wonder if people would feel happier at work. So again, the mythical part of that work-life balance being that work has to be negative. Maybe if we gave people the opportunity, as you are saying, to better themselves, to challenge themselves, to find themselves in their work, right? Maybe they don't have to fight so hard to balance it against their life. I thought it was brilliant. If you're, we know more happy people, they become more productive people, they take less sick days, they come to work more. So I think everybody wins that way.
And Джойниколь, how do you connect efficiency and diversity in teams?
I think diversity in thought and background is a strategy for efficiency. When I say that, I mean, it's like with women, right? Women, they have a way of thinking through things differently than men. That's just we have a natural, innate way of thinking. We can see broader scope. We tend to see other resources, and we think like a wheel and spoke, right? And that brings us back to this hub. Diversity does that. It makes the core stronger because you have all these different inputs. And so in any mathematical equation, the more clear your inputs, right? The more valuable your individual parts of that algebraic expression, the better mathematical outcome you will have. That's how algorithms work, right? I have to have more information, more data. Anytime you're coming up with a solution, you need as much data as possible. And that's how diversity works. It brings as much data as possible. So the outcome is clearer and cleaner, and it's a better solution. And you can then say, okay, what do we need to toss? What do we need to clean up? What do we need to get away from? And so we're more efficient because we've brought in as much data through our people, through their experiences, through their education, right? Because all of that wraps up into work. And then we take all of that and we bring that to the table and say, now how do we make that valuable for us? And then how do we turn it into something that we can scientifically release, and that it's clean and efficient and it's agile? Because I think agility is the way companies survive, because the world has been so changing and in such chaos. Change is normal now. That's just every day. So I think if you're not agile, if you're not able to reflexively and responsively move, it hurts your bottom line. And when you have diversity on your team, you think faster on your feet as a team. I really do think it's honesty and vulnerability. And that's not an easy thing to say, right? People say, oh, it's cute words. When I say honesty, I mean, I think if you're gonna work with people, you should bring a part of yourself to that table. You should be able to say, listen, I do have it today or I don't have it today. We have to stop making people feel like there's some retribution when they don't have it. There's power in I don't know, right? That's why you have a team. There's power in saying I need help. That's why you have a team. There's power in saying let's collaborate, let's come together. That's why you have a team. And so I think We're building teams. In the past was just more about, okay, like we said about diversity, check, 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 check. Do I have an engineer? Check. Do I have a scientist? Check. Do I have a chemist? Check. Do I have a biologist? Check. Do I have a physicist? Check. Okay, we have the team. I think now we have to look beyond that educational skill set and look at those soft skills, right? Who's the better communicator? Who's the better writer? Who's more present and prescient on stage? So we have a team that can present, not just function well, but present what they're doing well to their other cross-collaborating teams, right? To the wider, broader global stage. So I think you have to build it in a way that you take into account people's professional skill, and that professional skill now must encompass soft skills, not just their technical skills.
Here we comes to emotional intelligence. So are you good at that yourself?
I think emotional intelligence is why I've been as privileged and fortunate as I am. One of the questions I was reading, oh wait, I shouldn't say that, I guess. I read the question, what's your superpower? I was thinking, what is my superpower?
Your powers are inconsequential compared to mine.
Yeah, but the kid's seen more movies.
And the answer I came to was listening. I listen. I think if I am good at anything, it's hearing and reading a room.
Do you read people well?
I do.
And you're always right?
No.
At the end?
Not at all.
First impression?
I think it's a skill set, right? There's a intuition, I think, that came to me.
Absolutely.
Seriously, you.
Intuitions are not to be ignored, John. They represent data processed too fast for the conscious mind to comprehend.
With the first impression, are you always 90% right?
90% right.
90%?
Yeah.
So, and when we're talking about the best performers, and let's say people that fail your expectations, not probably once, what do you do in that case with these people?
You know, I think if you have expectations of people and they're not meeting them, then you need to reevaluate whether it was you who expected the thing that was false or if something added to them failing. I do believe that we've not been good in the past at seeing people's lives and again, listening. One of the things that we're teaching a lot of leaders now is how to listen to members of the Black community at work. How to listen, because there was so much visual imagery, graphic visual imagery in the news. Being able to read and hear, are they just having a bad day? Are they having a bad week? People lost family members. Being able to hear, are they failing right now because they've lost someone and they just don't want to tell you? I think you have to do that. It's easy to say they didn't meet my expectation, but was my expectation even real? Was it fair? Was it just? Did I consider who they are? And were they in the right position? Did I absolutely look at their skill set and say they're matched well? Because so many times people are just matched. They just take a job because they need the income, or you said we're very fortunate to do what we love to do. Not everyone is that fortunate. And so sometimes people don't meet an expectation, not because of them, but because of us. I'm trying to do a better job and teach those around me to do a better job assessing where the failure started and why it's there and how can we stop it before it becomes overwhelming. Can we pivot? Can we change it? Can we help them so they don't lose everything? And we don't either.
Джойниколь, you said that we're living in the times of chaos and COVID is not leaving. It's going on and on and on. We're all extremely tired, but I think mankind is kind of adjusting to that reality. What do you do with people's frustration around all those restrictions? Because they are there. You cannot say that, oh, okay, so we'll overcome. It's dragging on and on and on. So how do you handle that in your team, that frustration, that tiredness?
I've learned that people have to take a step away. And American culture, it's interesting. We don't take vacations. If you look statistically, we don't take vacations. We just work, and we're expected to work 60, 80 hours a week, and that's just what we do. Hopefully we're changing that. I know for my team, for people that I work with, I'm saying, go away. It is frustrating. Go away. Take the time. Find what's gonna give you some peace. We wear a mask all day. And in the beginning, I noticed so many people had the mark on their nose because
irritations,
they weren't,
skin irritations.
Right, they weren't used to just having something pressing on their skin all day. And then, incredibly, they'd say, do we have to get on this Zoom today? On the camera? And, you know, well, we have to be on camera because I need to see you. I need to be able to build trust, and we have to have this communication. And at some point, you just go, you know what? Turn it off. As a matter of fact, we'll all turn it off. Right? If that's going to help, it's tiring. We have so many new expectations. Little changes like we don't start meetings on the hour, always 5 to 10 minutes after the hour. And we always end them at 55 or 50 minutes, not 60. So people have a chance to just stand up and move, right? Walk away from the computer. These little tiny changes that I hope make big differences, and keeping that frustration level down, and then just allowing people the space to say, I can't today, and honoring that.
And it is all right to be not all right.
And it is okay to just have a day where you say, I'm not all right. Yeah.
Still, we also live in the times of digital transformation. So where do you think it will take us?
I think we're going to wake up very soon and find we are one powerful globe. And I say that because when I look at climate change, you know, it can be frightening, right? But I also see that there are nations collaborating digitally to address it. I see the digital age as the answer. I know it's a threat for some people, but I think it's the answer. Done well, and I think we're trying to use it well. I think it's going to bring us solutions and innovation and creativity we never would have imagined. I'm looking forward to waking up one day and asking my robot to clean my house.
And yet, voila, bon appetit. I missed you, baby sweet.
I mean, really soon I'm looking forward to this because I think that's where we're headed. We're headed to answers for questions that our human capability can't reach. And so I think
within the lifetime
right.
span.
Definitely. I've been watching Foundation.
Whatever remained of the natural world belonged to the emperors. Dawn, day, dusk. The genetic dynasty, clones of Cleon I, decanted at different ages.
You know, when I was younger, we read all the Foundation's books because who doesn't read Asimov? And I thought, oh, and I'm angry every time I watch. That's not what the book says, right? But I'm fascinated too because I see, yeah, we're headed someplace. There's always a bit of truth in fiction. And I'm watching this fiction and recognizing that there's some truth.
Yeah. But there will be a reality check for me now, because there's a negative part to that as well.
Yes.
I'm talking about the shallow knowledge, I'm talking about the fake news,
yep. I'm
talking about our kids not having information from the right places, etc. It's many, many things.
Very scary.
So will you talk about the negative part of that transformation?
So I saw recently someone made one of those videos, a deep fake, was on YouTube, and I thought, gosh, how in the world? If it had not said it was a deep fake video, I would never have thought that. And it's petrifying to think someone can put words in my mouth, right? Someone can place me in a different environment. It's petrifying to think, oh my goodness, this looks just like my bank website. Literally looks the same, and it's not. It's petrifying to think my 5-year-old can Google Mickey Mouse, and the result is
not
something,
Mickey Mouse. Let's put it this way.
We don't, you know, and we spend so much time like, block this, block that. Oh my goodness, you know, did we put all the parental guidelines? And you spend.
I don't think it will help.
No,
nowadays.
At the end of the day, yes. With all of that good work, you know, there's a malevolence in the world, and that we can't escape that, whether it's digital or just people, right? If we could escape it, we could stop crime. And I think we are going to have to learn together, both sides. One side will scale and grow, and so will the other. And so we have to be creative in how and we can't stop addressing it. And that's the thing. We can't become complacent and say, well, we have this new technology and that will fix it. Nothing will fix it. One side will grow and so will the other. Because where there's light, you know, there's dark.
Always.
Always.
Джойниколь, can you please give us some information, a breakdown on what is Six Sigma? Is it similar to the lean production that's been created by Toyota company?
It's similar. Six Sigma is, it's funny, it really was about errors, right? Trying to reduce errors and trying to make sure that processes are in place so we don't have to waste. And so I think when you talk about, it was developed by Motorola. So interestingly, small businesses initially were like, well, I'm no big Fortune 100 company. Why do I need to know about Six Sigma? Why do I need to know about lean or efficiency? Why do I need an ISO certification? But I think, again, being able to see how you process, whether it's how you respond to your clients, right? So how many times you contact them? How often do you contact them? Being able to evaluate your team, evaluate your communications using data and trying to find the best way to bring an outcome without waste. I think that's the core of Six Sigma, not just being fast, right? Because everyone can be fast, but sometimes that's a problem. I think for me, the way I use Six Sigma, because I'm not a factory, the way I use it is to help companies become effective and efficient, to reduce waste, even waste of talent, right? To reduce waste of time, waste of talent, waste of resources.
In any sphere, any part of your production cycle.
Any type. And then in doing so, to create a space where there's a small risk of error because you've controlled the inputs and the process.
Do you coach Six Sigma
I do.
To other companies?
I do. And I recently, I stayed a green belt so long, and recently I decided to go for my black belt, and you have to do a lot of work to get it. And I was so glad to finally finish. And now I think because my project was so comprehensive, it actually made my company better as well, actually going through the process of getting my black belt. So I think that makes me a better coach because I had to coach myself.
Absolutely. Learn something new every day. So let's go to diversity inclusion. I know that we've been talking about that already for a long time. So what's your mission? It's a simple but not a simple question.
My mission is to build capacity and to help people feel it. That's my mission. Personal capacity, professional capacity, corporate capacity.
So you've been part of our STEM forum just recently. Is it your first STEM forum that you participated in?
Forum, yes.
So what's your part in that? What do you think? STEM for girls, we're talking about STEM for ladies, for young professionals.
So I'm a STEM professional, and I think for me, I love celebrating other professionals. I enjoy seeing women just shine. It's brilliant, right? But so I get to look ahead. I get to say, oh, look at this wonderful thing that's been done. But if we don't keep bringing women and girls into STEM, the ones coming behind us won't. Eventually, I'll retire. And if we don't keep bringing them in, someday someone will be like me and say, I don't see anyone in front of me that looks like me. I don't recognize anyone in front of me.
So what would be your advice to the girls in STEM? Because you already mentioned that ladies in this country, they feel underestimated. What's your advice to them then?
Find mentors and sponsors. Find mentors, people you can relate to and say, hey, can you help me? Can you show me? Find someone that inspires you and just make the ask. But then find a sponsor, because sponsors are more strategic, right? They're, especially when you're talking about being included or belonging in a place.
When you say sponsors, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
So a mentor is more like your coach,
mentors,
right?
Your coaching, kind of.
A sponsor,
yeah,
is the person who's in the space you want to be, and they will mention your name at that table. So I'm not in that room, I'm not in that meeting, I'm not in that table, I don't have access, but they do. And when there's a conversation, the sponsor will say, hey, I know someone who should be here. Hey, I know someone who would be able to do that. You know what? I know someone, I have a resource, and they bring you. Sponsorship is different than mentorship. Mentors don't necessarily have to open a door for you. They help you along as your journey.
They advise you.
Sponsors are people that will champion for you, that will evangelize for you. A person that says, I recognize something in you, I see it, and as long as I'm at this table, I'm gonna take both my elbows and I'm gonna drag a chair behind me and sit it next to me and say, now come, sit. Sponsorship.
Yeah, I stand by you. Getting back to the efficient teams, how fast do you think the diverse team can become efficient?
I think that depends on the leadership. I think when leadership is really bought in, and I mean bought in, you get more buy-in down the line. I think when you are trying to, I see companies trying to create change from the bottom, right? They're trying to create it from one department and trying to create a spark. The truth is you need real buy-in at the top because that sets the tone and the culture of the company. When it's at the top and it's top down, it's faster. When it's trying to be done by one team or one division or one department, it's much slower, heavier, weighty process. And part of that is just because the resources aren't there, right? They don't have command of the resources to do it. Mm-hmm. So I think it'd be nice to be able to say, here's your 60-day timeline to become, right, diverse. But again, diversity is fact. It's just numbers. You can go have a hiring spree and create diversity, right? And check your boxes and say, okay, we need 10 women in the next 50 days and easy.
We're not getting to those quotas back, please.
Right?
We're not.
But that's we did that for so long, right? We just said, oh, we need this, we need that, so we can say we're diverse.
And it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is work, it's action. You have to evaluate so much. Your hiring policies, how your job descriptions are written. Are they culturally humble, right? Women tend to only apply for jobs where they can see themselves in every single qualification listed. Where men, if they tend to see 10 to 15%, I'll apply. They don't even have to be at 50,
absolutely.
Right? Women, I need to have 150% qualification. So how you write your job description, your hiring processes, your interview questions, how you hire from within, how people are evaluated while they're in the job. There's so much work to be done to change inclusion and belonging. That is a much different work than just checkboxing for diversity. So it's a process. It takes time and energy and resource, but it's an imperative financially for every business. And there's just no timeline for it. I think it's an ongoing thing. If you're going to make a culture that's inclusive in the midst of a community that's always responding to change, it never ends.
Politically incorrect question. What do you think of diversity inclusion in Russia?
I wish I had my phone, I would show you. Someone said to me today, on my way here, why are you doing this? Why would you go to Russia? I mean, what is there? I've never been in a country where I felt, and I mean felt, like I sense as much desire to change as I have since I've been here. And I think if I felt the desire, it doesn't feel synthesized. It just feels like, listen, we want to change the story of who we are. We want to show our beauty, we want to show ourselves. I mean, I can't imagine how people miss how diverse this country is. It's funny to me. So many, I mean, everyone, I said, where are you from? And everyone's from someplace else.
Yeah.
Right? It's just incredibly diverse.
We're getting back to the Soviet Union heritage.
Yeah.
So this comes from there. Yeah.
It's brilliant the way it's become this kind of international melting pot, right? It's brilliant. And I think people miss that external. The story on the world stage doesn't show that. We say Russia.
Like
and the truth is,
like your father.
Right. And like my father.
Don't go there.
Don't go there. As though it's a monolith. And the truth is, it's filled with amazing. I was, yesterday, I saw someone with a necklace on, and I thought she got it from the US because in my tribe, what she had on, I recognized the symbolism. And she told me she went to a mountain area here, and I thought, well, how is it I'm looking at this and I recognize it? I mean, you could not convince me she didn't go to my home and buy it. And here she got it from the middle of the mountains in Russia, and it just shows me just how diverse. It's so unique in how many tribal communities and cultural communities and villages and just language and art, you see it expressed. And it isn't just Russia, right? That's not this monolithic, ridiculous, homogenous thing. It's this beautiful kind of bringing together of a lot of people with rich experiences, and they express themselves differently. And it's reflected on every single street, and I absolutely love it. And I have to say, I'm very proud that I've been able to be here.
Now I'm gonna go to these 3 questions that you need to answer shortly.
Okay.
The one you already answered, but still, I'll repeat the questions again. So what's your superpower, Jойниколь?
Listening.
Probably you change your answer now.
It is listening.
Listening.
When I mean listening, I mean wholly, with my ears, my eyes, my body, listening.
The second question you also answered, but let's, you like movies, don't you?
I love movies.
You love movies. So what's your 3 favorite actors then, from the movie industry?
So it's gonna sound strange, but Cary Grant, because he's not like, he's long gone, right? But I love Cary Grant because he just reminds me of elegance and
old style,
yeah, it's just
classy,
wonderful.
very classy.
Very classy. I am in love with Denzel Washington. I don't care what movie he makes, I'm going to see it.
But what's his favorite movie in your
Mississippi
mind?
Masala. It's an old movie, but he walks and I just go, yes, yes. I love that movie. And I would say there's so many women that I love who are actors, but I think Glenn Close, because she's been
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. She's unbelievable.
And she's just got a wide range, and she just can do anything from comedy to intense drama, and she's just really a powerful person. Yeah.
Very powerful person, absolutely. So, your motto. There is, there must be one.
It's gonna make you laugh.
That's good.
Okay, so my motto is for myself, and now let me be
your motto. It's
my
your
motto
personal.
For myself is shut up. That's my motto. It's actually on my wall at home. I say it all the time. Shut up, because I truly believe we have to seek first to understand, and then be understood. And I can be a little bit quick, and so
jumping the gun.
Hey, we have to know our weaknesses, right? So. That's my motto. Shut up.
I worked on that myself as well. Okay, Jойниколь, thank you very much. It was quite interesting.
Oh, yes, fun.
Mind-opening, and I hope you enjoy it as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.